Hello and welcome back to our edition of Teebei, and in today's part 5 I would like to talk a bit about who this system is designed for. So we've been covering a lot of things related to science and other issues, mainly from the domain of psychology, but today it's a more down-to-earth questions and answers that people ask me, and I would like to follow up on that just to get more clarity around who Teebei is really for. Well, let's start first with the whole idea that having this system up and running is meant to be for people who really feel they need a major overhaul of their current emotional state and what have you. So I previously was sort of like dealing with people and engaging with them on a friendly basis, But when I realized when you sort of do in work with people for free, it sort of like, generates this pushback, apparently driven by this deep, ego that pushes you back on anything you want to do for free, and people don't really appreciate it, and they tend to devalue the work you do. So therefore, I decided that probably the best idea would be to team up with somebody from a different domain of knowledge, from a different body of knowledge, to take it to a new level, give it a bit more formality and specific settings within which people can appreciate the borders and appreciate the settings, and therefore would be paying a bit more attention to what's going on and how committed they should be to that little time they allocate to sit through the session. So definitely when it comes to this issue of pricing, well, it was a good idea that Melinda Fouts and I were teamed up, because she clearly has a perspective on her way of pricing it. But based on my experience, if you work with people and people pay a little, they don't really respect you for charging that little. You cannot really, it doesn't really mean that you have to charge them a lot to make them sort of like suffer from taking it lightly. But on the other hand, there's got to be a certain golden middle where people feel appreciative both of their own efforts and of my efforts and whoever's working with me, so that the outcome of our joint work is equally appreciated. Because it's just like I keep going back to this, but it's like when you ask someone how long one is grateful for having saved his life, people usually go like, oh, it's for an eternity and beyond. Well, technically it doesn't last longer than just 20 minutes, because the ego of the person whose life has been saved pushes back hard, because we don't want to be grateful to those who really saved us, helped us out. And therefore this way of getting those people out of our life as quickly as possible, this is just how people normally behave, and that what accounts for their way of going about life. That's what people normally do, even if they're surrounded by caring and loving people. It's rarely appreciated until it's all lost and maybe never recovered. So this system that I designed is basically about and mainly meant for our leaders, people who are out there working with large teams, and they need to be 100% focused, they need to be 100% committed to what they do. But therefore, of course, they do endure all sorts of fatigues over time that drags them down and slows their performance. And my idea has always been to make sure that we can help along those leaders so that they can continuously work at promoting higher standards and leading their own teams in terms of better performance, better productivity, higher goals, and greater achievements. So it's not necessarily just for business leaders, but for anyone out there who feels they need to be completely reset about the way they go about doing things and working with people, and at the same time give them a completely, fresh start again. So, but one thing I want to revisit first is really key. The idea is not just like basically to work with people with all sorts of narcissistic, personality disorders or psychopaths and people from that bunch. I have discovered that it's not really working well. So therefore, I'd rather focus on people who come from a larger group of different personality traits, be that introverts, extroverts, or conscientious people, or agreeable, or open to new experience, and all these basic, personality types out there. So technically, my approach works and can be applied to all of them, so without any particular restrictions. I'm sort of just trying to select the potential audience for the Teebei approach, whereas like not to raise false expectations for those groups of people who may have some clinical issues or deeply seated issues that there's nothing I can do about that. This is mainly for people who well functioning and are not in need of anything super major to actually almost like may require some serious help. I'm talking about basically resetting people that are quite aware that they need to do something about it, maybe go and revamp some major things in their lives, and at the same time they would probably need not necessarily just months and years of coaching and therapy sessions, which most of us don't really have either time or money for. I'm talking about a complete quick fix on all these counts that would allow these people to progress towards having a few more sessions with Melinda to make sure that their new self is given all that professional help that's needed and that's out there, and therefore would result in a very positive outcome for them. So just not, again, this is all about just not to raise those false expectations and saying that anyone could be fixed and patched up, and that's definitely not the issue, and that would be preposterous for me to say that. So other than that, I'm talking about a group of people out there who are normal, average people, hardworking, but who actually need to rejig their system and do it quick, and at the same time enjoy results that are permanent, so that it gives them a much needed boost in their personal lives and careers. So I hope that explains it. So stay tuned.